Unit 4, Lesson 4, Parallel and Perpendicular Lines. So when we're looking at these, you guys should know that parallel lines have the same slope. So if we're looking at two lines, they should look like this, where they never intersect. Railroad tracks are usually the best example that you guys give us. Whereas perpendicular lines, not only do they cross, but they cross at a 90-degree angle. So if they don't cross at a 90-degree angle, they just intersect. So it's important that it intersects and they create that opposite reciprocal. Okay, so again, parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocals. So when we're looking at this equation, we're looking at y equals mx plus b. Well, in this case, our m is 1/3. So since our m is equal to 1/3, we want it to be parallel to that. So parallel is the same exact number. So our parallel line is 1/3. And again, in math, those two lines mean parallel. In order for them to be perpendicular, what you're going to do, again, our slope is still 1/3, but in order for it to be perpendicular, it's going to be the opposite. Well, this is positive, so the opposite has to be negative. And then the reciprocal just means you're going to change the numerator to the denominator and the denominator to the numerator. So the numbers are going to flip. So if we flip these two numbers, we get 1/3. I'm sorry, 3/1. And then -3 divided by 1, that's just the same thing as saying -3. So a perpendicular slope to 1/3 would be -3. Okay, we're going to look at the same thing on this one. But the catch is, on this one, it's not in slope-intercept form, so we have to make it in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to move the x, change the sign, divide by the number in front of the y, and I'm not going to forget to simplify. So I'm moving this x and I'm changing it to a -4x. The number in front of y is 1, so I don't really need to divide. So I can finish right there. So y is really equal to 3 minus 4x. And if you'll remember, your slope is always in front of your x. So in this case, our slope is a -4. So here, our slope is equal to -4. So if we want something that's parallel, we're going to have -4. So a parallel slope to -4 is -4. Remember, parallel lines, same slope. Here, we're going to take that same -4, and this time we want it to be perpendicular. So technically, you can write -4 as a fraction. -4 is just -4/1, kind of like what we did right here. So again, it's the opposite reciprocal. So we're going to flip the sign, or we're going to change the sign, which is now positive, and we're going to flip these two numbers. So it's just really 1/4. And that's it. Our slope, our perpendicular slope is 1/4. Again, parallel line, same slope. Perpendicular, opposite reciprocals. So if we're looking at these next two examples, and for you guys that write big, you're going to want to write a little bit smaller than you normally do, because it's going to take a little bit of room. It says we're going to write the equation of the line that goes through the point -3, 0, and is parallel to the line y equals 5/3 x minus 5. And then you have one that's in standard form where we're going to have to make it equal to y. But let's focus on this first one first. So here my slope is 5/3. I want this to be parallel. So if my slope is 5/3, the parallel slope is 5/3. So we kind of talked about this not too long ago. We're given a point and we're given a slope. So now I'm going to put in the information I know. So the information I know is x is 3 and y is 0. And I know that my slope is 5/3, so I'm also going to put that in there. So 5/3 times my x, which is -3, plus b. Now some of you guys get freaked out a little bit because you see a fraction. Remember, the calculator will do the fractions for y'all. So 5/3 times -3, that's just -5. If you want to see it like we put it in the problem, it's still the same answer. So this answer is -5 plus b is equal to 0. I want to solve for b, so I'm going to add 5 to both sides. So this will 0 out, and you're left with b is equal to 5. So now we have our slope and our b, and we can plug it into our equation. So y equals mx plus b. So 5/3 x plus b, which is 5. Okay, now I'm going to show y'all that, because you guys will ask, did I do this correctly? You can put this in the calculator and check to see if you got it correct. We know that the ordered pair, -3, 0, has to be in this problem. So I'm going to go to -3. And there's 0. So I know I did it correctly. Alright, so on this other one, this one we're going to require a little bit more room than the other. So I'm going to try to write a little bit smaller. Got to get in slope-intercept form. So move the x, change the sign, divide by the number in front of the y. Don't forget to simplify. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 halves does not reduce. So I know my slope is equal to -3 halves. My parallel slope would be still 3 halves. So now I'm going to use this slope to find our answer. So again, here's our little t-chart. Remember, we're going to have to write a little bit smaller than we did on this other one, because there was more work to do on it. My x and my y, and I'm going to have mx plus b in the middle. So my x is still the point that was given earlier, 3 and 0. My slope is 1/3 times -3 plus b. So I'm going to let the calculator do some calculations for us. So alpha y equals enter. 3 halves times -3 comes out to be a fraction. That's okay. So 9 halves plus b is equal to 0. I'm going to subtract 9 halves to both sides. This zeroes out. So b is equal to -9 halves. So now I need to write this down as an equation. So my equation is, and I kind of ran out of room here, so I'm going to write it over here on the side. Y equals -3 halves x minus 9 halves. And there's the equation that's parallel to that point. And again, you can check your work. To make sure that you did it correctly. Again, there's -3, 0. Okay, last section. Again, we're going to want to write a little bit smaller for you people that write a little bit bigger. So we're going to write the equation of the line that goes through the point negative 4, 6, and is perpendicular. So this time we're perpendicular. So remember, perpendicular from what we learned up here is the opposite reciprocal. So we're going to come down here. We're going to take our slope, which is 4. If it's perpendicular, I have to take the negative, since this was positive, and I'm going to flip the numbers. And just in case you've already forgotten, this is technically 4 over 1. If I flip 4 over 1, it's 1/4. So our slope is negative 1/4. So here's my t-chart. Try to write a little small. So here's x, here's y. My ordered pair is negative 4, 6. mx plus b is equal to y. So I'm going to have negative 1/4 times negative 4 plus b is equal to 6. I'm going to let the calculator do the calculations for me. So negative, and really you can put the negative on the top or on the side like I just did, times negative 4. That comes out to be 1. So 1 plus b is equal to 6. To get b by itself, I have to subtract 1 to both sides. Again, this will zero out. So b is equal to 5. So on this problem, y is equal to negative 1/4 x plus 5. Here's my work to check. I need the point negative 4, negative 6, which is right there. So we did it correctly. Okay, last problem. I have to get this equal to y. So I'm going to write this a little bit smaller because there is more work to this one. Move the x, change the sign. Divide by the number in front of the y. Don't forget to simplify. So this is y equals 4. 3 divided by 2 doesn't reduce, so it just says 2/3 x. So my slope is currently negative 2/3. A perpendicular slope, you change the sign. So now it's going to be positive, and you're going to flip the two numbers. So really what we're looking at is 3/2. So I'm going to do my little t-chart. X, y, mx plus b. My x is still negative 4, and my y is 6. And now I'm going to plug in what I know. So 3/2 times negative 4 plus b. I'm going to multiply 3/2 times negative 4. And I get negative 6. So negative 6 plus b is equal to 6. To get b by itself, I have to add 6 to both sides. This zeroes out, which is what we wanted. And b is equal to 12. So now we can put this in the equation. Y equals 3/2 x plus 12. And for the last one, we're going to go ahead and check still, just to make sure that we did the calculations correctly. So I'm going to go to y equals, I'm going to type in 3/2 x plus 12. And again, I should have negative 4, 6, which I do, so I'm good to go. So again, all you're having to do is determine whether it's parallel or perpendicular. The first two were parallel. The second two that we did were perpendicular. And then you just do your little t-chart and find your answer.